Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with Damar and his family. The GoFundMe for his toy drop is continues to explode. It's
over 6 million.
It's unbelievable. It's such an amazing outpouring of support. We've seen other organizations and prominent individuals, other teams donate as well. So really just, a really terrific story during a horrific episode in the history of the NFL. We don't want to minimize Damar's status, and we certainly are not. But we do know that, the NFL yesterday announced that there have been no changes made to the Week 18 regular season schedule. The NFL said they're at least as of now, as of Wednesday morning when we're taping this or we're shooting this, there will be a Week 18 schedule, as you see it here on your screen. The NFL released this NFL update on Bills-Bengals game and Week 18 schedule. The NFL continues to be in regular contact with the medical team caring for Damar Hamlin and also the Bills and Bengals organization and the NFL Players Association. After speaking with both teams and NFLPA leadership, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell informed the clubs today that the Bills-Bengals game will not be resumed this week. The NFL has made no decision regarding the possible resumption of the game at a later date. The league has not made any changes to the Week 18 regular season schedule. We will continue to provide additional information as it becomes available. And so I'll start with that. The league has not made any changes to the Week 18 regular season schedule. As a result of that, if they're going to play Week 18 games, guys, that means there's going to be fantasy football in Week 18, and that's what our show is going to do. So, again, our thoughts and prayers are with Damar Hamlin and his family, the entire Bills organization. But we are a fantasy football show. There's going to be football on Sunday, or this weekend, I should say. So we're going to talk about that. And speaking of that, Connor, what we should do is then talk about the rest of that announcement and the fantasy implications.
Yeah, there are fantasy implications here, obviously. We have a Yahoo status update essentially explaining cancellation versus continuation. So let's get into all of that. Week 17 and 18 fantasy football status updates. Week 17 standings will update for now, but scoring updates will be applied once a decision regarding the Bills-Bengals game status is made by the NFL. Waivers will be processed as normal for leagues playing in Week 18. In the event of a Bills-Bengals game cancellation, if the game is declared final by the NFL and scored as is, meaning the score is finalized as 7-3 when the game was stopped, all fantasy points will remain as is. If the game is canceled and the stats are zeroed out by the NFL, all fantasy points accumulated in the Bills-Bengals game will be zeroed out to reflect the official record. They will not count, essentially. In the event of the game being continued, if the game resumes at any point in the future, scores will accrue as they normally would for Week 17 matchups. This will impact Week 17 results, and Week 18 matchups may be impacted as necessary. So, long story short, we don't know if this game is going to be played. We don't know if it's going to be canceled, which would negate all of the stats. And the fact is the NFL doesn't have the answers right now if this game would be played after Week 18, which would push everything, essentially probably eliminating the Pro Bowl skills week that's in between before the Super Bowl. They do have that padded week. So there's a lot still in play here, guys. Yeah, there absolutely is. So I think, and by the way, it's worth noting that, I still have some leagues on ESPN, obviously, and ESPN, they also have an announcement about this, which is basically the same as Yahoo's. The only difference between ESPN and Yahoo is that ESPN pushed waivers back a day. I think it's going to actually run tonight as opposed to when it usually runs Tuesday night. So whatever day waivers ran in your league, it's pushed back, I believe, a day, but certainly check your ESPN-specific league. But basically it's the same thing, and what they're doing is, it's a lot of words that explaining it, but in essence what they're doing is, and by the way, I think they're doing the right thing. In essence, what they're saying is we're going to let the NFL dictate how we handle this. Like, if the game is resumed at any point in the future, then the game will have played. It'll be counted for Week 17, even if it's played in Week 19. That'll count towards your Week 17 scores. And so if you had Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Mixon or Diggs or whoever, then those points, even if it was scored in Week 19, will be retroactively added to your score and everything will be updated. Okay. But if they don't play the game, then they don't play the game. It is what it is. And so, and my personal take is, listen,
with the caveat that we've all said, like, none of this is important in the grand scheme of things compared to what Damar Hamlin is going through. But I think that's the best solution. I've heard lots of other leagues trying a bunch of different things. I've heard people saying we're going to split the pot. We're just going to declare co-champions. Yeah. I've heard people then say we're going to split the pot. We're going to declare co-champions, and oh, by the way, we're going to take the league winnings and we're just going to donate it to Damar's GoFundMe, which I think is an awesome, amazing idea. I've heard other leagues. I'm in one particular league, the league that I mentioned, where I'm up 6. I was up 6. This is the league I mentioned on Fantasy Football Pregame. I'm up 62 points. I was up 62 points on Rich Rebar at Lord Reeves, who's an awesome analyst and a friend in this dynasty league that's a bunch of fantasy analysts in the industry. I'm up 62. I'm done. He had Burrow and Mixon to go. And so he basically said, like, guys, I don't think there was any way I was getting 62 points out of those two guys. So to make this easy on the league, I'm just going to concede. To which everyone else in the league, including me, said, no, let's just wait to see what the NFL does. Like, if the game plays, and we'll figure it out. So I think lovely gesture by Rich. So I think it depends on your league, and every league is different. But my personal take, guys, and I want you guys to weigh in here, my personal take is I would follow the lead of the platforms of Yahoo, of ESPN, of the other platforms, and who are ultimately going to follow the lead of the NFL. If the NFL says the final score is 7-3, then Burrow's touchdown to Boyd counts, right? And the Tyler Bass field goal counts. And if not, if they say it's just a 0-0 game, then as much as that stinks and is awful, it's a 0-0 game. Like, that happens. I mean, you think about Kyler Murray. He played 3 plays and basically got a 0, right? And got injured. T. Higgins a couple of weeks ago played 1 snap, got a 0. Like, it happens in the NFL. It doesn't happen in a scenario where like 10 players get 0s, but it does happen in fantasy football, and it's an awful break, and it's, again, incredibly insignificant in the real world. But to me, I feel like that's the most fair thing.
Yeah, I think it is the only fair thing to defer to the official record. That's just the easiest thing to fall back on, and like it doesn't feel like it's all trivial, clearly, but it doesn't feel, I guess, fair in the fantasy context that all these guys get 0s. But what's the alternative? Like, this is the only thing that I think makes sense. And to your point about Kyler Murray, T. Higgins, yes, this is an extremely unique and obviously unfortunate situation, but I think that's the only thing that you can really do is just defer to the official record.
Yeah, I think everybody just talking it out is what matters. A dynasty league I'm in the fantasy community, the fantasy playbook, that everybody got together, had an adult conversation. There was no hard feelings amongst the two that were in the championship, and they said co-champions, and the money's going to Damar Hamlin's charity. Really nice thing to do. Not everybody is in that situation where they're going to be willing to do that, but just talking it out, coming together. And if nobody can agree, this is what you fall back on, what the NFL does, because there's honestly no other option.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think that's great. What I personally would do, and as great as it is in your league that the two people in the finals decide to declare themselves co-champions, for me, I actually, and listen, this wasn't my decision, in the dynasty league that I'm talking about, TJ Calkins is the commissioner. He co-manages a team with Scott Barrett, and TJ was just like, guys, we're not going to make a ruling until the NFL rules, until we know. Because again, there's a chance, and I don't know what percentage of the chance is, but like, so the league where you're in, where they declare themselves co-champions, there's a chance this game plays, guys. I think it's unlikely at this point, but there is a chance this game plays at some point in the future, and at that point, then you want to see how it plays out. You'd want to see how Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon do. I'm in another league where, same thing, where I'm down 32. I have Evan McPherson and Jamar Chase going against somebody that has Dawson Knox. I think it's unlikely that I would have won that game too. He had Daniel Jones. I had Saquon Barkley. There you go. The Giants, what are you going to do? And Ramondre Stevenson. Pretty much every superstar that disappointed in Week 17 I had on that team. But let's see how the NFL handles this. It's interesting. Recommend, if you can find it online, Mike Florio did an appearance on the Dan Patrick Show the other day talking through some of the scenarios. He talked about the idea, but he talked about the fact that, like, there's a chance that they don't play this game and they decide to use winning percentage, that was the plan the NFL had 2 years ago when they thought teams were going to miss games because of COVID. That ended up not happening, but that was the that was the plan in place, or there's a chance that, as you mentioned, maybe they decide to play it in week 19. That's the only game in week 19. The playoffs get pushed back 1 week, and you get rid of the Pro Bowl week, right? And you just go from the conference championship into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's all on the table, and obviously we just have to see what happens. My guess would be that the game just doesn't get played, and we just go on, and the Bills finish 13-3 or whatever they finish.
Yeah, you'd enter some conversations about everybody else having 2 weeks of rest, and these two highly competitive teams then have 1 week of rest. So they need to work with the teams. Obviously, they will, but ultimately, it does seem like this game might not get played, or realistically won't get played, and the fact that we'll lean on the strength of schedule for the playoff seeding.
Yeah, and. Right. I mean, there's all sorts of things. This is with no knowledge whatsoever. This is just me trying to be a logical adult. But I think that if I were in the NFL's position, which is just an awful, untenable position, and it's unprecedented, and again, all of it is insignificant compared to what the Hamlin family is going through. But I think if I was in this position and I was making the decision for the NFL, I would sort of say, like, you know what, I want to kind of, pardon the pun, punt the decision. Let's let Week 18 play out, and let's see if this game would matter. Because based on the results of Week 18, there's a chance that it doesn't matter what the results are, I believe, of that game.
Yeah, I think it's going to matter for the 2 versus the 3 seed potentially. But yeah, I think there are ways it can shake out where it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, at the same time, like, I don't think you want these teams playing extra football. Like, I just don't think that they're going to play, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we 100%. We will see what happens. But what we know is, at least as of now, and it's a developing story. As of now, they're going to play football this weekend, and all the teams are going to play, including the Bills and the Bengals. That's the expectation as of now. So
we will wait and see. But
so we're gonna talk fantasy football. We'll talk at the rest of the show. We'll talk at the rest of the week, and of course, Sunday morning fantasy football pregame will be right here on Peacock and CNBC at noon Eastern. So we'll get you set for Week 18, and Week 18 also it's a good week for DFS and for prop betting.
Something we did mention at the top of the show, some really good news to come out of this really tough time is Damar Hamlin's Toy Drive GoFundMe page right now, as you see it right here on the screen. Over $6 million. Just an incredible moment of everybody coming together and supporting a charity that the goal at one point was $2,500. It has now surpassed $6 million. That is Damar Hamlin's Chasing M's Foundation community toy drive that can be found on GoFundMe, rising by the hour.
And what's incredible, Connor, is look underneath that number, 203,000 donations. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's not like just a couple of teams saying, "Hey, we'll donate $1 million" or whatever. Like, over 200,000 people have made an individual donation to the Chasing M's Foundation Community Toy Drive in honor of Damar Hamlin and his family and team. So just an amazing, incredible outpouring of support.
All right, with that, we will take our first break. But when we're back, we'll be doing Keep It Open or Close It Out, basically looking at who will start and sit for the final week of the regular NFL season.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.